Wolfe Glick proves once again that he is just above all rest in this video game. He will just come off a win in Orlando, and now he takes a win in the VGC Honolulu Challenge with 92 participants. I want to take a look at this, break down his team, kind of talk about his picks, but first I want to talk about the details of the tournament. Now, this tournament did have some very good players in it, and there was a good prize pool. I'm not sure if the prize pool was met, so I'm not going to spread misinformation on it, but I do know that there was like a potential flight and hotel for the prizing up to $6,000 worth of value. But I don't think they met the requirement. It says 250 here for the travel package, flight, hotel to Honolulu, and they had 92 registrants. So I'm not sure if he won this or not. I'm not going to say that he did because I don't know. However, this was a very big tournament with good players in it. I want to go over break down his team. So if we go to the standings here, Wolfe Glick 10-2 record with Calyrex Shadow Rider, which I just did a regulation G tier list, and this was S tier. No surprise that Wolfie picked this Pokemon up. It's a very good Pokemon. Very good players in this tournament. The Micro Bestie, Gaddis, Pado's pretty good. Marco Fierro. I mean, just huge names. I think Darts is in it. Pretty sure I saw Lorcy. Shortbread Dread's a very good player. That they were in it. And there's Lorcy Loves You. Just stacked full of really good players with WD Michael. And honestly, Mr. Rishi, you see him in a lot of these tournaments. Ducky, very good regional runner-up, I think. Very good players. It's stacked full of very, very good players. So it's going to be interesting to break down the teams and kind of go over what was good in this tournament. I think I'm just going to break down Wolfie's team for today and just kind of talk about what happened and how he won, essentially. So this is Wolfe Glick's team. If you don't know, this team is very, very familiar. This looks sort of like the Orlando team that Wolfie ran. I think Amoonguss was in this slot. We all saw Amoonguss kind of hero the 1v1 in the finals of that match, and Rillaboom was not on the team, but it makes sense for the current meta and everything that we need to do. To start off with the Shadow Rider, he chose to run the Focus Sash, which is just obviously very strong. I mean, Shadow Rider is just such an oppressive and good Pokemon, and just being able to kind of do damage, not worry about getting O-code in case you don't have Terra to your availability is just, honestly, it's just a good item. I mean, Focus Sash is really good on this Pokemon. He chose Terra Ghost. I'm assuming this is just to boost damage and to drop the 4 times weakness. It honestly, it works just like Flutter Mane if you think about it. You kind of ditch your other weaknesses and you just go into the Ghost typing, just like Flutter would go Fairy to boost up your Moonblast on Flutter, and here I guess you're just boosting your Astral Barrage. That definitely makes sense to run Terra Ghost, especially with the support of Clefairy, Incineroar. Astral Barrage, spread, 120 base, move, just insane move with the ability as one. You're just going to boost up. Psychic, you can hit things like Amoonguss and other Pokemon really hard. It's just another stab coverage move. For the Shadow Rider, Psyshock is seen here a lot, but Wolf chose to go with Psychic, which is very good. You get those Spadef drops, and if you get the Spadef drop, you're just cleaning the game. Nasty Plot, so I mean, you have Fake Out on both of these Pokemon. You have Redirection right here. So setting up a Nasty Plot on this Pokemon is absolutely scary, especially with like Friend Guard on Clefairy, so reduce incoming spread damage that you could take, or just any damage in general, but with the Follow Me, generally, you know, even with spread damage, you could just reduce that with the Friend Guard. And then Shadow Rider is actually like a lot more bulky than Flutter Mane. So this is a pretty solid Pokemon to set up. You get the Nasty Plot at +2, and you could just start plowing through teams. I mean, they can't fake you out. You could just click Astral Barrage. If they have Wide Guard, you could Psychic the Mienshao and stuff like that, or whatever the Wide Guard Pokemon is, and just keep sweeping from there. Up next, we have Rillaboom, and I think this Pokemon actually makes a lot of sense on the team over the Amoonguss pick that he was running in Orlando. So with the addition to Koraidon to this meta, Koraidon's just a very strong and solid Pokemon, and I think Rillaboom is just going to be a necessary staple coming into the format. It's a non-restricted slot that basically makes Miraidon's life really hard. You can just use the Grassy Surge, take away the terrain. Also, some of these Shadow Rider teams are running the Indeedee with that Psychic terrain to stop, priority moves like Sucker Punch from Okoing this Pokemon. So being able to have basically terrain control of your own is, I think, I'm not going to say necessary, but it's definitely very, very, very strong for the upcoming metagame. And so this makes sense over the Amoonguss pick. You don't want to double up into Rillaboom and Amoonguss, I don't think. I just don't think that's optimal. And then we just have standard set, it looks like here, with the Assault Vest, Fake Out, Grassy Glide, U-Turn, and Woodhammer. Honestly, don't fix what isn't broken. Woodhammer just threatens so much damage in that rain And then you heal with the Grassy Surge over the recoil damage off Woodhammer. Very good just to chip chunk things down, delete. You have the U-turn for just parting shot, and U-turn work so well together. I mean, you could rotate out of situations in the mirror versus Rillaboom. You can also U-turn and do tons of damage to the opposing Rillaboom or Force of Terra. So I think U-turn is a very good move on this Pokemon, especially with the AV set. Grassy Glide for that priority. This is just very good to clean up. It did get nerfed this generation, but very, very good move on Rillaboom. And then Fake Out self-explanatory, to set up your Shadow Rider, or even Fake Out plus Urshifu is a very impressive combination. Then you have the Tornadus Urshifu. I mean, this team has several leads and modes that could go in. It's very, very good. Stuck with the Terrifier. I like Terrifier still. I think that it's very good versus the Ice Rider, and it sets up good board states. You can set up Rillaboom and Incineroar under Trick Room, Terra, and then you just basically knock it off, or even Wisp the Rider. Urshifu also resist it, and then you have the Friend Guard Clefairy with the the after use, so you can help out Trick Room. We'll talk about in a minute. Up next, we have Incineroar. Wolf chose to go with Citrus Berry Incineroar. I think this makes sense since he dropped the Amoonguss off his team, which was holding the Citrus Berry in Orlando. I think that Citrus Berry Incin is probably the best Incineroar. Safety Goggles is so good, though, in my opinion. But we see Taunt down here, right? So that's a way to handle Amoonguss. So, like, Citrus Berry makes sense. Honestly, this makes Incineroar a nightmare. I'm running Safety Goggles Incineroar, and there are times where, like, Incin gets chipped down in the mirror match. Like, if you get it chipped down with the goggles, there is no chance for recovery. Well, even though this takes away your as one ability, what I'm saying is, like, I've played the mirror of the Shadow Rider, and before this comes in, if you're not Citrus, like if you're Safety Goggles, they can just kind of chunk away and chip away at this Pokemon, get it 50 or 40%, then come in and clean up with Rider. Whereas if you are Citrus Berry, that makes this a lot tougher, because even though you don't get the Citrus proc with the Shadow Rider on the field, you do threaten it with the knockoff here. And you basically can heal up if you take 50%, get your health back up. It makes the Incineroar just a lot harder to clean off the board. And also against those opposing Ice Riders, like if they high horsepower, I'm sure this is calc to live that. It's a non-stab move, and then you just knock it off or get the Will-O-Wisp off, and you can't recover due to the fact that the Rider is on the field. However, this Pokemon, like later on, if you clear it or if it's off the board, this will proc if it's under the health. So that's a good thing to know. Terra Water. I'm assuming Terra Water is because Terra Ghost is a little risky now with Calyrex in the metagame. You don't want to be forced into a pin position where something comes out and forces the Terra off Incineroar, like an Urshifu or something of that nature, and you essentially Terra Ghost, right? Or even Fake Out. Like you're good with letting this get Fake Outed. That's fine. You can also just rotate into Rillaboom and set out the Fake Out for the next turn. But I think Terra Water's fine. I think it's good. You resist the Urshifu Rapid Strike stuff that's gaining popularity. I mean, this is a very good Pokemon as it is. It always has been. But, with these Firewater Grass cores getting almost, I'm not going to say mandatory, but just you see them on almost every other core now. I think that this is a good Terra type to shift into that isn't just weak to Shadow Rider. We go with the moves here. Fake Out, Knock Off, choosing to drop Flare Blitz for the Will-O-Wisp. It's a very interesting pick, but it makes sense, right? You can Will-O-Wisp posing threats such as the horse, who's going to run Clear Amulet, so you can't intimidate it. And I mean, I think knocking off the horse is slow, then you have to rotate out to get the Intimidate off. So Wisp just makes sense to where you can live it, and then Parting Shot obviously is one of the Incineroar's best moves just to help it rotate out and kind of get the Fake Out cycle going with the Rillaboom. Up next we have Clefairy. This is taking the spot of the Amoonguss. A Violite is obviously the item. It just boosts its defense since it's a non-evolved Pokemon and you need it for the bulk. Friend Guard, the only ability you would ever use on this Pokemon, just helps keep your friends here safe that is sitting beside. And then Terra type Water as well helps for the Urshifu, helps for the the Riders and stuff of that nature. With Follow Me, so good redirection. You can Follow Me Nasty Plot. You can just Follow Me plus Urshifu kind of sweeping in games, or you can even just Follow Me and keep some of the pressure off your Incineroar, who can just get a ton of value off into certain matchups when they don't have spread damage. And then you have Helping Hand, which just helps. Again, your Shadow Rider is Terra Ghost, Astral Barrage, or Psychic. Nasty Plot. This thing is just meant to boost, so giving this thing a +1 is already scary. It's basically getting your as one ability off once already for free while retaining some defensive purpose. Very good combination here. Also very scary. And same thing, Helping Hand plus Urshifu is always just scary, right? And then we see After You and Protect. So Protect is good. This thing is weak to Taunt is one thing I noticed, but I mean, I think Wolfie does a well enough job playing around stuff like that you don't really need Moonblast or Icy Wind or anything on this Pokemon. It's just strictly support. And then the After You is for like Trick Room, so this makes total sense. I mean, you can even get your Calyrex or your Calyrex Shadow Rider under Trick Room, and that's like one of the main ways to counter the Shadow Rider. And you could just After You Clefairy is super slow, and then this thing just goes off, right? Same thing with Urshifu. Choice Scarf could be awkward times under Trick Room, and you just after you and clean up a Pokemon and then take the trade. I think this is a very, very good Pokemon for a team. I'm not sure if it'll stick on his team for the meta. I could see other things here, but I think this for initial, early meta does very well. And Clefairy usually does good in these restricted formats. Tang Terra Water, like I said earlier, I think this is for Urshifu and other things of that nature, but it's interesting to see so much Terra Water on this team. All right, moving on, we have the Urshifu Rapid Strike. This is just the bread and butter Urshifu set. That has ran the entire time since it's been out. Choice Scarf, Unseen Fist, Terra Water. Tons of damage. You got Surging Strikes, always going to crit, hits 3 times. This is a very impressive move. Can't protect in front of it due to Unseen Fist. Always hitting a crit, plus the Terra Water, plus the Helping Hand chance right here. Fake Out plus Urshifu is very impressive. You have 2 options of leads into Fake Out plus deleting a Pokemon or doing some impressive chip damage. And the reason this is such a good piece for this team is the fact that it does so much impressive damage that you can't protect on him. I'm sure that Wolfe is okay with trading this Pokemon or taking damage trades where you get a big Surging Strikes off, or even if they have something like the Ogerpon Wellspring, you can make a read and either Force Terra or U-turn out and get some huge, huge chip damage down, because the whole design of this team is to basically chip down as low as you can, grind through these Pokemon, right? And then kind of sweep with Calyrex. And then you have this option, I'm assuming, for like Trick Room and stuff. And then you obviously have your other mode, which is Tornadus and the Urshifu, we'll talk about here next. But you have the close combat. This can hit the turtle once you chip some damage onto it, which you could do with either Fake Out Grassy Clyde, or you can just put a Will-O-Wisp on the turtle. That's actually a pretty good play, because you can Will-O-Wisp it, and it kind of Will-O-Wisp activates after terrain, the chip damage, so it will never stay at full, so you can always do that super effective hit after that. And then you could just also Surging Strikes that Pokemon if you wanted to. Last but not least, we have Tornadus. Tornadus has just been a consistent threat to this game ever since it came out. I mean, it's just a very, very good Pokemon. Covert Cloak to dodge all the Fake Out that we're seeing in this metagame with Incineroar makes a lot of sense. Prankster, so you can get off these support moves first. Terra Dark is very interesting adaptation. I'm assuming this is for the Prankster Mirror taunts and stuff of that nature. Also, you resist the Astral Barrage, which is very good. So it's like a dual purpose Terra, right? Like you're good into the mirror because they can't taunt you. You can also resist these mirror match Astral Barrages. Usually you see something like Steel or Ghost here, but like I said, with the Shadow Rider Calyrex being like the main premier Pokemon of the format, I just can't see Terra Ghost being a good Terra anymore, because it's too easy to bait the Terra out and then just clean up in the end game with this Shadow Rider Calyrex. So this makes sense to change to Dark. It's a very good adaptation. Rain Dance here just to boost up your Urshifu, protect your Rillaboom on the fire side. But yeah, just basically getting a power boost here. You can like a Rain Dance and sweep through teams is very good. Also to make that Bleak Wind Storm 100% accurate. You see Tailwind, which doubles the speed interaction, as you guys know. So Tailwind plus Scarf Urshi is pretty hard to deal with. You could like defensively Terra, which is what this is, this is wanting. If you defensively Terra for the Urshifu, then you have to Shadow Rider to deal with in the late game, and vice versa. If you lead out the Shadow Rider Torn and defensively Terra for this, you can clean it up with, like, let's say Terra Normal, right? You just clean it up with close combats in the end game. So this is a good combination of very, very aggressive approaches to the game to where you could chip down, and then you have the balance synergy of, the way the game could go, where you can just slow it down a bit if you need to. Lastly is the move Taunt, and this is self-explanatory. I mean, it's a good way to check Amoonguss. You don't have Terra Grass here. You have the Violet here. You can't run Safety Goggles, so you can't run the Terra Grass here either. So Amoonguss kind of running free on this team, so you need some way to stop Spore, and this makes sense, right? You have your natural resist or your immunity here, and no substitute here. So with only one check to Amoonguss on this entire team, you really need the Taunt. And I mean, Taunt really helps out versus Shifu, because you can taunt the Amoonguss and it can't Rage Powder anymore, and you can taunt and it can't Spore. So this is definitely necessary for this style of a team. And since he has to run, basically has to run the Rain Dance to boost up and to protect the Rilla, he has to run Tailwind and Bleak Wind just for obvious reasons, and then the Taunt is here. That's why I believe he's went Cloak over something like Rocky Helmet, because I think these 4 moves are needed for this particular team. Also with Taunt, if you get you can get into situations where you can taunt a Wide Guard user, and even if they trade the Pokemon, if it's taunted, there's basically 2 turns where you can't Wide Guard, right? You got the one turn where you'd have to switch it out to preserve it, where a Astral Barrage can go off. And when the Pokemon, if you do get the KO, the Pokemon comes back in. You don't get the KO, there's a second turn of Barrage that you can launch off. But then you have the Psychic to generally chip down the Wide Guard Pokemon that wants to come back in. All right, now we're going to go back, kind of look over the matchups here and just see how the tournament went. So we see started round 1 with a loss to Mirror and Chunk. This is a mirror match, right? With the Ogre upon Hearthflame. Ended up 4 through drop, but I mean, starting with a mirror match, pretty impressive that he lost, honestly, to the mirror with just a 1 adaptation. I would have loved to see the game. I think he's going to post his team up on YouTube and the Patreon, so if you guys are interested, you know Wolfie's YouTube channel. He's the best Pokemon streamer and YouTuber that exists. Go check it out, and he'll post it up. But yeah, so he loses the mirror match. It looks like round 1. He beats, there's like a Brute Bonnet, Heatran, Fluttermane style Koraidon team. So this is like a Sun Tailwind team. Ended up beating a another Calyrex Tailwind team. This team took a different approach, kept the Amoonguss, no Rillaboom, Raging Bolt, and Wellspring. And like I was saying earlier, with no Rillaboom here, I think you are a little weak to Miraidon on this team. You do have the Amoonguss, but you could Draco this and, you know, Electro Drift that. Can't really Terra, or gains the boost, the 1.33 boost on its move. Ends up beating a Dondozo team with Miraidon, Entei, Jugulis. That's a very interesting team. Then beats Scarlet. Now, Scarlet's a pretty good player. I know Scarlet in real life. Using a Screens Terapagos team, so it's very interesting that this Hyper Offense team could actually break through this. Would love to see this match. Scarlet's a good player, so that's very solid to see. Proceeds to lose the next match to a Comfey Terapagos team. Seems like Hearthflame Ogerpon is the consistent here. I'm not sure if that gives this team an issue. Possibly does. But I don't know. So that's the consistent Pokemon Torn and Hearthflame here. But then a very weird and interesting team, Iron Hands and Araquanid. So that's very interesting. Then proceeds to just go on a tear for the rest of the tournament, facing Jack, Incineroar. Oh, Zamazenta. So this is like this is Zamazenta Rain team that's been going around. I'm going to do a video on this team later. And but getting a win on this is pretty good. I mean, this is physically defensive. There is the wide guard on the Pelipper, and being able to beat this is pretty impressive. Then goes and faces Sanvi, who's running the Ice Rider Calyrex and Incineroar team. Again, the wide guards here. You have the support of Frigoraph under Trick Room, Rapid Strike Urshifu. Like, this team is very gnarly, very scary. I'm sure the Clefairy came in to work here. Goes on to rematch Penguin and getting a dub in top 16. So was able to defeat this team after seeing, I guess, what it did, which is very, very nice. Then moves on to top 8, faces Fade Campo VGC. Calyrex mirror matched to a T, but they retained the Amoonguss over the Clefairy. And I wonder if the Clefairy came into play here at all, to be honest. Definitely Tornadus probably came into this matchup, I'd imagine. And this was probably a slugfest. Plays Oilymac in the top 4 with Ice Rider Calyrex and Incineroar team again. Pretty sure he played them earlier, or played as Sanvi, but pretty much the exact same team. So they may have been like teammates or something building for this. This is a very good team. The Pelipper, again, wide guard, Rain to protect the Calyrex from like Flare Blitz, which Wolfie had dropped as we saw. Then you have the redirection here, the support of Frigoraph. Like, you can lead Frigoraph and Rider. They can't pranks or taunt you, and you can just set up Trick Room with 2 bulky Pokemon, so it's kind of hard to read where they're going to go with it. And then this mode is very solid. And then in the finals plays Gyarados with a Kyogre team, which is a very interesting team. I'm also going to do a team building video on Kyogre. Archaladon kind of walls up Rilla and Incid, so that's very interesting. And then he gains, you know, those special boosts. I mean, obviously you got Shadow Rider to be immune to the body press and stuff. Rapid Urshi seems to be doing very, very good in this tournament. So yeah, Rapid Urshi everywhere. And then you have the Kyogre. This is basically just a Rain team. This is just, you know, standard Rain since the beginning of time type stuff. You have the Rain with the Rapid, probably Scarf Urshifu, and you have the Steel type that takes advantage of the Rain. The Amoonguss takes advantage of the Rain. This helps boost the Urshifu. So that's going to be it on the video, guys. Hope that you like what you saw. If you do, please like and subscribe for the video. It would really help me a lot. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about Wolf's team, and, you know, anything you would change to this team. Or, I mean, it's Wolfe Glick. It's kind of hard to, you know, change his teams, but just let me know what you thought about this team down in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see you on the next video.